This is Herschell Gordon Lewis. If you know who I am, God help you. If you don't know who I am, God help you. But what you're watching here or listening to is without your head, and I can tell you that I have contributed to the loss of your head. So thank you for being there.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by underground filmmaker Charles Pinion. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. So the new movie by our friends at Wild Eye Releasing, American Mummy. So I think the title kind of tells you what it's about, but for people who don't know, could you give them an idea what American Mummy is about?
It is about some college students who find they're part of a dig team. They unearth a mummy in New Mexico, somewhere in the desert in New Mexico. And one of them has the theory that it's actually an Aztec mummy that had been hidden there hundreds of years ago to be safe away from his temple in Mexico, and so that he can eventually be awakened. So that's kind of what the story is about, is that they wake this mummy.
Mm-hmm. I like
that's
the
been
reveal
waiting to be awakened.
Yeah, I like the reveal of the mummy, the mask. It's very cool.
Yeah, I love that mask. I mean, even when it was not colored, when I just saw the sculpture that this guy made, I found it terrifying.
Mm-hmm. I assume they made it specifically for the movie.
Yes, I'm a terrible person because I'm drawing a blank on his name, but it's there in the credits. But anyway, yeah, very talented. He just kind of came up with it based on reading the script.
Oh, cool. Some dogs there.
Cerberus.
Is that the name of the dog?
Down, Cerberus.
Oh.
Yeah, my dog's barking. It's just a mailman.
It's all right. What was the
biological imperative? Yes, sir.
Oh, what was the inspiration to make a mummy movie?
My partner Greg, who played the Russian, he just came to me with the name American Mummy, and that's actually where it started. And this is like in 2004, like a long time ago. And we're like, wow, no one's come up with this yet, you know. I think there was already American Zombie, and you know, and it was before it had gotten so bad that, you know, American Sniper and American Jesus Christ, you know. So initially, like, you know, I thought of it being more of a Native American thing, and like a North American mummy, I guess. But then once we hit on this one Aztec deity called Tezcatlipoca, who had this really kind of terrifying face and terrifying proclivities. He's the Lord of the Smoking Mirror. It's just a really rich reference to make this the mummy.
So that's like that's a real mythology about that particular mummy.
Yeah. I mean, about that particular god.
Right.
He's only mummy because he got buried, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Before that, he was just a god. So, and my partner was very particular about the scholarship of it and the colors and all this kind of stuff. You know, if left to my own devices, I probably would have made something more, you know, not as specifically anything referential to anything. It would have been a story about the kind of viral nature of the evil entity or something. But my partner's influence brought it into kind of this more hardcore Aztec pantheon, which I'm glad, you know, because it's very specific.
You mentioned your partner is when you're working with someone else. Do you find that like a positive experience, or do you guys butt heads, or or do the butting of heads, produce something good because you have one idea, they have another idea, and you kind of join in the middle.
I mean, your last part. I mean, inevitably people butt heads, I think, when they work together. But I really thrive on collaboration. Whether it's like, in a band. In a band, you get it because you're right there with that person or persons, and you're creating something together. And even if there's no audience, at least you've done something together in that room you did it in. And that's pretty awesome on that level. Like a band is an obvious example of collaboration, but filmmaking kind of, even more so, because so many energies get into making a movie. So it's intrinsically collaborative. And then, yes, you have a partner, Greg, who, like I said, he's the Russian. He was more particular about the details. And I might have just been more kind of, let's make it orange, because orange looks cool, and
right.
Whatever,
Yeah.
But that would have been if I'd done it, if we hadn't really nailed this one specific god, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we showed it in Mexico City, 3D. It's fantastic. It's this festival called Macabro in Mexico City. It was just this great, just fun festival, like 10 days of just horror movies, but not just, very international kind of content. That's their god, the Mexican audience.
Uh-huh.
So when we showed it there, I was like, I am so glad we were like super careful.
Yeah.
Because there was a little bit of, why are you making a movie about one of our gods and calling it American Mummy? That was one of them. I'm like, but it also had this real kind of, it gave me this opportunity, because when we were making it, it has like these green tents that I think are literally like from Korea or the Vietnam War, what we got for the movie. And just, there was a point looking at the set, like I was up, I slept on set because someone had to, and it was to protect the cameras and whatever. It was this very remote location. But so I had this great opportunity in the early wee hours just kind of wander around the set. I felt like I was at Disney World after hours or something, because I was like, this is cool, But I got this sense that, this is like a colonial outpost. Because as soon as they find this mummy, they claim it, they put a flag up there, and they say, it's our mummy, the American mummy, And so it's kind of neat in that Mexico City Q&A. I had an opportunity to kind of turn the animosity around and say, no, it's about, America. America is actually this whole continent. It's not just South America or North America, but Anyway, it was an interesting opportunity to just sort of like talk about colonialism and talk about cultural chauvinism and yada yada. It was just kind of neat. And the best thing is, like, after the show, like, this little old lady comes up to me, and her daughter was with her. My mother wants to say, thank you very much for making a movie about one of our gods. And there's just this little old lady, and this is like one of the most bloody of their bloody gods. I mean, all their gods are bloody, but it was just a trip, It was like, wow, this is some serious shit to these people.
Yeah.
Like the Catholics came in and like made them all Catholic, but their beliefs go a lot deeper than the 200 or 400 or how many years the Catholics have been there,
Yeah.
No.
Had you been
Our
to that?
beliefs go down to the... Yes, sir.
Go on. Oh, go on.
I'm babbling.
I was just wondering, had you been to that particular festival before?
No.
Was the decision to play it there because it was, about a Mexican god?
I'm sure that, I would guess that might have been a factor. I mean, the fact that they were willing to play 3D was a big kind of hurdle. I mean, surprisingly, because when we first you know, we came up with it in 2004. We were going to make it in like 2006, and it's going to be shot on like mini DV, and we were all going to camp out there, and it was just going to be like a sort of a $10,000 movie or whatever. You know, just like shot running done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd like to think they just liked the movie, but that probably certainly. I mean, if they hated it, I don't think they would have. Well, it's about one of our gods. Fuck, we're supposed to show it, you know.
Right.
But it was the 3D thing really that for me was like, can you show it in 3D? Because some festivals would take it in 2D, but initially we were both like, we only wanted to show it in 3D because we shot it in 3D. It was a pain in the ass to shoot it in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I mean, a lot of the composition, you know, our whole workflow was structured around the 3D and the way it looks. And that's why I'm really happy that they're releasing it in 3D, because that's for me a huge. I mean, I think it's fine in 2D. You can certainly watch it and enjoy it in 2D, but in 3D, wow, you know, it really is like this jewel box that comes alive, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, I saw it in 2D. I would have liked to seen it in 3D. I didn't actually even know it was released in 3D. That's pretty awesome.
Well, it's just that in 2D, you sort of, I find myself going, okay, like you're looking at the shot, and it's like, okay, you know, like I'm ready to see another shot. But in 3D, it's like, oh my goodness, you know, you're just kind of like looking at this kind of living space. I mean, it really is. 3D is neat, you know. I mean, it's not all tricks and poking you in the eye. You know, it's kind of just like this fuller, you know. But you know, a film's weaknesses should not be dependent on whether it's 3D or not. Right. So for whatever reason, you know, when films don't work, you can't blame it on one or the other. You know, and I'm just like, I enjoy it more in 3D, and I think people have more fun when it's in 3D.
Yeah, I am glad that you brought up about poking things in your eye, because I always do get a kick out of like a lot of the 80s 3D movies where they were just poking everything at the camera for no particular reason. But
well, see, I love that. I mean,
I love it too. I think it's awesome.
The first Creature movie, you know, I guess the one that's in black and white. Like I saw that. I think they actually showed it like in green, blue, or red, blue. You know, and they had the paper in the newspaper. You got your 3D glasses that week or whatever, and they showed the Creature on regular TV. And that was the first time I ever saw it. But anyway, there's a part where they discover early in the film, you know, we've discovered this arm, and it's like, and it's pointing right at you. I just, I love that. And that was like in 5th grade or something. So I just like, I know that. So there is a point actually in American Mummy when you do see the spear that the hapless boyfriend was skewered by. The tip of the spear is sticking you in the eye in 3D. But there's not a lot of that in it. I mean, I enjoy it. And there's one where actually the girl vomits at the screen. And she only hits one eye, and my partner's like, "Gotta take that out, you know. Fuck, and it's like I really wanted to keep it in, so I had to like basically make it not 3D for that shot, to choose one eye or the other, and choose the eye that the stuff splattered on. But what I loved about if I'd kept it the way it was is everybody watching it would be like their right eye would be like squinted, you know, like Popeye, because they'd be like, fuck, I just got splattered in the eye. I really wanted that, but he said no, because then they won't trust you anymore. Like then the whole movie they'll be like, am I going to get poked in the fucking eye again?
Yeah, I like that. It's like the movie's dangerous. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and these are the fights you have as a collaborator.
It's a big argument about the projectile vomiting.
No, I mean seriously, I was like, but it's unique. No one's ever done that. No one's ever poked in the eye, and he's like, well, you know, it's just you can't do it. You know? So there you go.
Would you film in 3D again?
I mean, the truth is, the way movies are financed and so on, if someone said, yeah, you need to shoot it in 3D or else I'm not going to give you money to make it, well, and that's kind of what happened with this movie, actually. Oh. Because this movie started right after Avatar came out. And everybody wanted to make a 3D movie. Mm-hmm. So we were like, oh, we're on the ground floor of that. But then, of course, it took us like 4 years to complete it and another 2 years to find a distributor. And so that plan didn't work out because Avatar did not, create this incredible 3D rich world, Mm-hmm. So, but I still believe, I think they're just waiting until they get the technology where you don't have to wear the glasses.
Yeah.
Maybe people will be into it. I don't know. I mean, I do kind of think it's like a geek thing that I of which I number myself. Yes, I love the kind of this gimmick of it and fun of it. It just feels like I'm at a Saturday morning matinee. I mean, it just feels fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And but I don't think it just be like, oh, now it's massive theater in 3D. Like, I don't think that's necessary. I mean,
yeah.
But stupid movies like mine with crazy shit happening, why not?
Yeah. Like when you mentioned earlier about getting the 3D glasses in the mail, I remember it wasn't 7-Eleven because we didn't have like the chains of those, but it was like a 7-Eleven, and you'd have to go down and buy your Slurpee or whatever, and you'd get the free pair of 3D glasses to watch the whatever was going to be shown that Saturday.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was back in the.
And there's something neat about that. It's like this, and plus you get your Slurpee. I mean, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't have them anymore, but I remember going to see Freddy's Dead and Freddy Vision, and they gave you the special Freddy glasses. They were just 3D glasses, but for some reason it was Freddy Vision.
Right, that's great.
So, what do you like mummy movies besides your own?
Hey, buddy, you like mummy movies? I mean, I like the whole. When I think of the mummies that I've thought of over the years, the ones that are on our, I'm interested in like there's some that are up in the hills of the Andes. They found a bunch. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like old Hammer mummy movies, which is I don't know if that's the same as liking mummies per se. I mean, I've never been to Egypt. I think it's super fascinating and all that kind of stuff. I just think of like Basil Rathbone or Peter Cushing or whatever, trying to get away from one of them. Mm-hmm. I find that very entertaining. The way they walk.
Yeah.
Kind of a shambling walk.
Yeah.
And I had those little action figures, Dracula.
Oh, I did too.
The Hammer action figures, if I recall.
No, I had the Universal ones. I didn't know there were Hammer.
Universal.
Yeah.
Is it Universal? It is Universal. Yes. Yeah. The Mummy, and
man.
Yeah. They used to have those at the grocery store.
Really?
Like each week it'd be a different, brightly colored plastic Universal.
That's pretty cool.
Boy. Kids had it good back then.
Yeah.
More fun shit.
Yeah. That's very cool. Not too long ago, Annabelle and I, who can't be here today, they showed the original Mummy and the original Invisible Man at a theater near us in Boston, and it's nothing like seeing the movie on the big screen.
Right. That's where you guys are at, Boston?
I'm on the Cape, but she's in Boston. Yeah.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. So where you shot the film, it does look awesome with all the rocks and the sand and everything. Where was that location?
That is called Apple Valley or Cougar Buttes. They're different names, but it's like the last place, maybe at least in the state or something that you can get 350 degrees of land, like horizon with no telephone poles.
Mm.
Because it's kind of the premise of the thing is that, well, our cell phones don't work. What are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of, well, if there's a phone there, you figure maybe someone just make a call,
Which does take a lot of the fun out of movies now that people have cell phones.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. And so that was the main reason. It was a kind of, we were getting stuck out there all the time, coming and going. Production was kind of nice, kind of a drag, just because, everybody stayed at a hotel in a nearby town. And so by the time everyone got to set, it was probably 11. They go, had breakfast,
Mm-hmm.
and no one was busting heads. The problem with low budget filmmaking, unless you got some good AD to really bust heads and make people put them into shape, you're dealing with the vagaries of time. You always are anyway,
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we wouldn't get our first shot out till maybe 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And then around 4, the sun would go behind the mountains, so
So you just have a
that
few
would
hours.
change things.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I'm talking about that. None of the negative parts. It was such a good time making this film. It really was, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But we did get stuck out there a lot.
Yeah.
And I got to camp out there, like I said.
Nice.
Because someone had to. But I dug it. I mean, it was just...
Is there any rattlesnakes or anything like that in that area?
No. I mean, I imagine there might be, but, rattlesnakes don't go out of their way to find you.
Right.
And there's a lot of... No, it was very kind of devoid of critters, It was like this really kind of... let's see, at night you would hear... Occasionally you'd hear kind of the baying of some kind of dog-like animal. And that kind of scared me a little bit, because...
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
You don't know what it is.
but other than that, yeah, there were no, it wasn't like bobcat territory. It felt too rocky and remote. I mean, I don't think an animal would find it a profitable environment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not enough prey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. Because I don't remember seeing, because normally I go, oh, look, hey, there's a such and so hawk or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember seeing any of that stuff there.
Yeah. Was it?
But it was it was a super great, it was very remote. You certainly felt remote as hell.
Mm-hmm. And it's, it totally adds to the movie. I mean, you have the scenery right there. You don't have to, really build a lot of stuff. You've got awesome looking rocks and stuff right there in the background.
Yep.
Was it physically hard for any of the people? Like any of the actors? Walking around on the rocks. Was it physically demanding for any of the actors to do anything, amongst the rocks?
These are young folks.
That's very true.
No, I mean, you have to walk up hills and, okay, back up to the top. Action! They're like miles away, coming down the hill or up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's always... This is people in Hollywood are used to being treated a certain way. So, you can't really abuse your actors the way you can out in Pittsburgh, say it.
Yeah.
I'm making this up. Everyone was, everyone worked hard.
Mm-hmm.
And, everyone's trying to make this, help to make, they all look at me. Is this suiting your vision? Yes, it is. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always amazed when actors sort of show up and they are those characters that they've spent all this time. Now, I figured out that when I was in 5th grade, I got into a fight, and that's why they come up with all these backstory.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, great, cool. 5th grade, you got in a fight. All right. That makes it work for the shot. I am down.
Mm-hmm. Now your partner's the Russian. Why aren't you in the movie?
Why is he in the movie?
Why don't you have a role in the movie?
Oh, why don't I have a role in the movie? There was a brief period when I was going to play the boyfriend to get the spear at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And in fact, that was my jacket that he's wearing, the spear,
Uh-huh.
I would have liked to play that part because then I'd have been in my movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Again, my partner was like, he thought that he didn't understand how someone my age would be with that girl, and I'm like, okay, it's the whole story here that maybe this is too complicated.
Uh-huh.
Well, maybe I'm her professor, you know.
Yeah.
But when it came down to it, someone was available, and I'm in all my movies, and with each one I go, well, this next one I won't be in, but I always tended to be in it.
Yeah.
So I think I was just grateful of, well, yeah, we got an actor.
Mm-hmm.
People who actually want to do this stuff. I don't know.
I understand.
I have a lot of fun doing. I have a lot of fun being in the movies that I've already made that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, because I play the character. I know exactly what I need, so
Mm-hmm.
that's great. But I don't think I've been as successful being in. I mean, people who actually directed me might disagree, but I just feel like, I don't know. Why don't you get an actor? That's the, you know. I mean, I'm happy to play like some sort of bad guy or a zombie or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
as far as real acting, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I just, for me, it's hard to get enthused anymore. There's a period I was really interested in it, but especially after this movie, I mean, some of the people in this movie were really hardworking.
There's a lot of cool gore in the movie, and I think sometimes something that's overlooked when you have cool gore is sound effects to go with it. And
Right.
There's really gross, cool sounds, like during, I guess he's doing like the blood sacrifice, the woman. And
Yay!
that really stood out to me.
Thank
I loved
you.
it. Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thank you. Yes. Everyone deliberately chosen, and you know. Can you make it more disgusting, please? Yeah, I don't like to skimp on the sound, sir. No, sir.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate it. And I always wonder now, are those like sounds that you have somewhere, or do you go and like record sounds for that particular scene?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. Some sounds like some fruit, like if you cut it a certain way and then squeeze it, you know, it's like, wow, that's cool, you know, so then you want to record it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, over the years, I've saved all kinds of vile sounds, and, you know, because you just notice them. And it's easy in this day and age with the digital. With the digital, you can just, like, take your iPhone and that's a great sound. And then with the magic of digital, suddenly it becomes part of, you know, this gore opera you're creating. Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Now that's a cool collection. A collection of vile sounds. And I think it was the same actress when she's like, I don't want to spoil the movie, but she's kind of making out with the with the mummy, I guess. And that's a pretty awesome scene to me. That's right up Nasty Neal's alley. I like that.
Good.
But yeah, just the gore itself. You know, are you hands-on in making the gore?
Historically, I have been. I mean, this time there was a guy, you know, a dedicated team or whatever, you know. I mean, for some shots that were more complex. For some, it was sort of just, okay, it's me, you know, looking around. Can someone please squeeze this so I can direct this, you know? But, you know, I mean, the thing is the technology of gore, you know, if you're doing practical effects, hasn't really changed. You know, it's you hide tubes and you have a pump and you go, you know, and you get a nice arterial spray or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think the technology of, you know, that kind of hydraulics or pneumatics, whatever it's called, I don't think it's changed. So I love that actually about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, because you can add digital and all that kind of stuff, and but you know, we set out to do something totally practical.
Mm-hmm. digital blood usually never looks good.
That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like, okay, I'm getting a story. The story is being told to me as I'm watching this visual thing that, okay, blood spray. But I don't get that visceral gut level, blood spray. You know, it's like, it feels very detached.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at a photo of it as opposed to, I don't know, when it's really squirting and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the digital effects that doesn't have like the weight's not there, and you can tell that with your eye. Even if you don't like really know that, I think it takes you out of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because I feel like, okay, I'm watching a fable where the great hero was killed by the and it's just sort of like, okay, again, just this sense of distance from the story.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some stories call for that, but there's something about 80s horror or whatever,
Yeah.
Even knowing it's even if you recognize the rubber at points, it's like it still just feels more real or something.
Yeah, it's there. Mm-hmm. You mentioned different things, Universal, 80s horror. What kind of movies do you like, and what kind of movies made you want to become a movie maker?
Let's see. One of my favorite early movies was The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T.
Okay.
If you're familiar with that, it's like a made in the 50s. Practice makes perfect. It's a like Dr. Seuss, I guess, wrote the songs. I don't know if Dr. Seuss came up with the whole story. I'm not sure. But it's a movie I saw when I was like 5 years old at my grandmother's, and then I forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in my 20s, at some college thing, I thought, sure. And oh my God, it's like, oh my God, it really existed. Oh, I thought it was a dream this whole time. It's a very cool movie, and I feel like that affected my aesthetic in some respects regarding like monitors within the screen. There's a lot of the sort of surveillance stuff going on in the movie, and it's a really terrific movie. But it's like a musical, and it's like really for kids. But they didn't realize this is really too fucked up for kids. It's a kind of fucked up movie, and so it never really. I think they thought, oh, this will be the next Wizard of Oz. You could kind of tell they had this enthusiasm about it. But it's just very dark, and the lyrics, it's Dr. Seuss, so the lyrics are kind of, insightful in a kind of a dark way. Mm-hmm. Ultimately a positive thing, but that's a great movie. The Tenant, the Roman Polanski movie. Mm-hmm. I saw that when I was 17, and I guess I'd never seen a movie before where the hero. I guess I'd never seen a movie before where like this is our hero, and he's just so having such a rough time, basically. Mm-hmm. And then when you think, are you familiar with the movie?
I've seen it, but actually not for a long time. I actually have it here somewhere, but it's super moody and about the psychology of this one character who's having these kind of moves in this apartment, and then he takes on the personality of the person who lived there before him. Mm-hmm. With this woman who jumped out the window, and it's just so great. And there's one sort of trippy, I'm sick, hallucinating scene where he reaches for this bottle of wine by his bed, and as he reaches for it, you realize, oh my God, and in previous shots you've seen this bottle of wine, but in this shot he reaches for it, you realize, oh my God, they painted like a flat piece of board with a bottle on it in 3 dimensions, so it looks real. But then he puts his hand on it, and he's just sort of tracing his hands across it, and you realize, oh my God, it's 2-dimensional. It's just like this, holy shit, and this is a total practical effect. They just painted this Trompe l'oeil bottle. And just that movie fucking blew my mind. Mm-hmm. I saw it like 5 times in a week at age 17. I thought I got to go see that again, Mm-hmm. But 2001, I mean, when I was like 10, I saw 2001. I remember walking away from that and
my eyes are big as saucers. Just like, oh my God. And my mom's with me because she brought me, and she's like, I don't know about that movie. I just look up and I go, I want to see it again. And then when I started getting into, I got to say, the book Incredibly Strange Films,
mm-hmm.
that was edited by Jim Morton. It came out on Research in the, I guess, late 80s maybe. That movie, that book rather, opened me up to Ray Dennis Steckler and Al Adamson and Herschell Gordon Lewis, like people I just never knew who they were, mm-hmm. so I never knew to look for them,
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of brought me into the Gore, Gore as a mode of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, a huge influence was as a kid, I would see this Saturday night, horror movie show called Project Terror in San Antonio. And it was just, Project Terror, where the supernatural and the terrifying combine, or something like that. And you're like, well, and it's where I first saw The Terror, the Corman movie with Jack Nicholson, and so that and it was a very forbidden thing. I wasn't supposed to stay up and watch these movies, and so then I'd be like in the middle of the night there, watching forbidden films.
Mm-hmm.
So that alone was just cool. And but that's where I first saw a bunch of the, I guess, staples of my Little Shop of Horrors and The Terror, and I guess a bunch of Corman.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of being a kid, and that was always fun, because you weren't supposed to do it. And so I think the forbidden, I guess, I mean, I would say the notion of what you're not supposed to do has always been kind of attractive to me, as to watch and to make.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then certainly in the punk era, it was easier to kind of, the whole point was transgression in some respects. So that was like a perfect time to have made the 3 movies I made before American Mummy.
Mm-hmm.
Shot on video, yada yada, punk rock, and
tell us about those movies. And I know I have not seen them, but we talked a little bit beforehand. And
happily send them to you, sir.
Yeah,
happily send them to you. Yeah.
And then in the future, it'd be great to have you back on and talk about them more in depth.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, the first one I did was came out in '88. It was shot on VHS, in VHS. A punk rock splatter comedy called Twisted Issues, about a skateboarder who gets killed by these heavy metal kids, and he comes back from the dead. But he screws the trucks come off his board when he's killed by these guys, but he finds his board and screws his foot back onto it with a big bolt, and he comes back as a binging punk angel of death. And so that's that movie, Twisted Issues. And that kind of, at the time when I made it, I sent it out, by mail, back when there were zines and stuff. I get reviewed. Film Threat really gave me a nice review, which was a magazine at the time, which is quite important in getting some of these underground films, people aware of them.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave me a great review. And anyway, I included the movie, a little booklet, and a cassette of the soundtrack in one Ziploc bag. And that was a kind of novel way to get it around. And at the time, it seemed to hit the sweet spot between Gore, people who wanted to see Gore, and people who were interested in punk rock.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of got this together. And for whatever reason, just luck or whatever, it kind of made a splash in this kind of small world. But Twisted Issues definitely kind of put me on the map. And then after that, I made a movie called Red Spirit Lake, which we shot up in Vermont. And it several of the actors in it were from this New York filmmaking movement called the Cinema of Transgression. So I had like Richard Kern and Tommy Turner, and anyway, did various names that one would recognize from that scene, which is kind of a scene in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And that movie, that was the first thing that I got into, like a festival, the Chicago Underground Film Festival. Because prior to that, making a movie in video just kind of wasn't done. If you're going to make a narrative movie, if you make a documentary, make it short. But if you're going to make something that's, no, this is a feature. I'm shooting it in video, and fuck you. You know, I'm going to shoot it in video. Because everybody's like, oh, you need to shoot it in 16, or, you know, there's this weird bias, and all the festivals, except for the Chicago Underground Film Festival, shared that bias. So they're like, no, it's not in film. We don't want to, you know, it's kind of like the last sort of technological gatekeeper before digital came in and just like blew it all up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was wonderful that Chicago Underground Film Festival supported me in that way. I really, really appreciate that they did, because they said, hey, we don't care. Cinema is montage. Cinema is images, moving images next to other moving images. Like, they didn't trip on whether it was shot in film or not, which I think was actually a very far-sighted view, you know? So yeah, so I showed that there, and that was great. I mean, that was like, and then Frank Hen and Water saw that movie, Red Spirit Lake, and then he kind of got behind it being carried by Something Weird, video distributors, and that kind of, you know, definitely helped a lot. And then We Await was my third movie in that, what I call the Pulp video collection, and that was set in San Francisco. Okay, Red Spirit Lake is about ghosts and inherited property and ghosts and sexuality and UFOs, and that's the most sort of tits and ass, the kind of entertainment men-like kind of movie is Red Spirit Lake. And then We Await, set in San Francisco in the Mission District. It was actually a smaller version of my movie Killbillies, but basically about a family that worships this fungus and they're cannibals, and you know, just good, clean fun all around. And that was the last thing I did in '96, and that's the last narrative feature I'd done. So,
well, why was that? Why did you stop making them in '96?
I moved from San Francisco, and I got into other kinds of industrial filmmaking. So I kept making movies, and I kept doing like editing for documentaries. I edited a few documentaries, and co-shot and edited a documentary about Dexter Romweber, who was the guitar player for Flat Duo Jets, which was kind of a punk band, shut-in punk band. So I was doing other stuff. But as far as finding that narrative, and then it should have been 2006. That's when we were going to make
American Mummy.
American Mummy, yeah, in the just kind of grimy mini DV realm. And I think that would have been a pretty cool movie. You know, because we had it all. This is basically the same story, but it would have been very run and gun, more tighter shots, because, you know, 3D kind of, or the way we were shooting 3D and at the pace we had to shoot to get a day's shooting in, we relied on kind of wide aperture, wide shots. There aren't many tight shots in American Mummy, and that's partly because of the environment, but also partly because of 3D. And so the kind, because if you see my other movies, I really like kind of unflattering wide angles and stuff like that, close-ups, and none of that works in 3D. And we learned that in the first week, the first day of shooting. Like, oh shit, that's just not going to work, you know, because the eyes won't resolve. The 3D illusion won't resolve if you're certain lenses at certain distances. If we had a bunch more lenses, we had to take the lenses that Avatar had, and, you know, then we could do a little more variety in the shots. But basically, anyway, that was a limitation. It was definitely a limitation. And the few times that there are sort of inserts in that movie, you know, we had to take the time to do them. And as time ran out, we just started shooting the movie. Okay, let's tell the story. But at times, for me, it feels like a Honeymooners episode. Mm-hmm. You know, in the sense that it's just like, hi, you know, people enter spaces and
right.
stand in those spaces, and leave those spaces, because those spaces are the 3D environments that we were creating, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's so boring. I'm sorry. This is the boring part of your interview.
No,
I'm going to cut this part out.
No, it's fine. I find it all interesting.
Oh, good. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the thing is, it is not a unique thing to say, wow, this is really a hard movie to make. Every movie is hard to make.
Right. But
and that's the truth. Bad
all
movies
for
are
different reasons.
Bad movies might be harder to make than good movies. But,
when you were kind of going over your history there, and you mentioned Hen and Water, someone of your movies who I just met recently in Texas.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, a huge fan of Hen and Water films.
Yeah.
So, like, I assume you liked this movie since you liked a lot of the movies of the time, like Basket Case and stuff. So,
Oh, sure.
So when
Frankenhooker.
Oh yeah, Frankenhooker.
Brain Damage.
Yep. Yeah.
Brain Damage. I mean, that's just a fucking. I think that probably speaks to me more than Basket Case. They're all amazing, you know.
Mm-hmm. I probably like that. I don't know why. There's something about Basket Case, but I actually like. I like all those movies. They're great. So, just, if someone like that who you know, you like their stuff and they you know, see your movie and want to help it get out there, that must have been like a great experience and meant a lot to
you. It was awesome. Oh, it was awesome. No, I mean, I was in New York shooting. I shot an interview with Allen Ginsberg. I was shooting various things for a friend of mine who was doing a documentary about 42nd Street, which at the time was just starting to really change. I mean, now it's gone, but there were still the occasional grindhouses and so on. And, you know, the world that's actually depicted in Basket Case, right? The kind of 42nd Street scene.
There's something about all those New York movies were from that time, like from low budget to big budget movies. They all have that feel to them.
Yes, they do, and it just that was the city at the time. Mm-hmm. So I lived there 88 to 92, and then I left. Anyway, I came back sort of in 96. I think it was the last time I've been to New York to date, and shot this interview with Allen Ginsberg and some other people talking about 42nd Street. And then while I was there, my friend who I was doing the interviews for said, "Oh, hey, my buddy Frank wants to meet you." Sure, you know. And I think at first I didn't quite connect it. We started kind of, you know, oh, okay, I'll meet your friend. And then, oh my God, Frank Hen and Water. And he liked Red Spirit Lake. And, you know, was laughing about it. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'd like to carry it for something weird, you know. And I'm like, cool, man, I'm in. So yeah, that was pretty awesome. It is pretty awesome. It remains pretty awesome because over the years he's been a good ear and advisor of sorts and so on, and you know, he's kind of offered insights that I needed to hear at various times. So yeah, he's the grooviest.
Mm-hmm. We've never had him on the show because he says he does not like to talk about himself, but I should just ask him if he could come on and talk about other people's movies. That'd be fun.
There you go. That might work, man. Yeah. And then what's really interesting, I find fascinating, really, is he's really into 3D.
Oh, really?
Like, so into 3D. I had no idea. Mm-hmm. Like, this is after he'd already, you know, he really did help put me on the map with Red Spirit Lake We Await, you know, amongst with something weird thing. And then I just happened to make this 3D movie. But then I didn't realize until I guess I'd already made it that I was talking to him and he was like, I love 3D. I've got tons of 3D. I've got so much 3D. You know, it's like, oh no, he's like a 3D expert.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
and then he came out to LA and he and a couple other friends saw an early cut of American Mummy, and that was just all in 3D in my living room, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
To have that moment.
Yeah, that's really wild. And I have to mention Herschell Gordon Lewis too. You mentioned who passed away last
Right.
year.
Yep.
A huge Herschell Gordon Lewis fan. What are some of your favorite H.G. Lewis films?
The one that has the Blood Feast, I think it's the Blood Feast. Blood Feast is the one with the table with the bodies on it.
Mm-hmm.
That one I really liked. I remember seeing the Gore Girls. I also haven't seen all of 10,000 Maniacs, 2,000 Maniacs.
Yeah.
Whatever that one is. That one's great, and a great soundtrack and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the one that sticks in my head is Blood Feast.
Yeah.
Just because of its, I don't know, the audacity of it.
Yeah. And the lead in it's amazing. Fuad Ramsey's. Have you ever had an Egyptian feast?
Right. He's supposed to be Ramses, right? He's like trying to recreate an Egyptian blood feast. See, now that's something like you can get away with that because there's nobody alive from that culture to be offended by. A blood feast? What the hell are you talking? I'm telling you, Mexico City, these people knew they're fucking gods. And they're like, you better not fucking say the wrong thing, man. So we're gonna have a special party for you on top of one of our pyramids. That was my fear. Oh, come on, we're gonna go for drinks. Oh, really? It's kind of late. Oh no, it'll be fine. You know, sunrise coming up. You know, where are we going? Oh, we're going to one of our pyramids.
You have to admit, though, if that was the way you're gonna go out, that would be very memorable.
Mysteriously disappeared. Yes.
Do you believe in mummy curses? Because that's always around, even like from the movies and whatnot.
You know, I once ran into a theory that, you know, mummy's curse might be no more than like some sort of mold that's formed on the lips of the mummy. Mm-hmm. Maybe intentionally, like placed there by the priest or whatever, so that whoever breaks it will get really sick. Or I mean, because I've heard the curse when they first found Tut, right? A bunch of people got sick and shit. And my thought, because I'm allergic to all kinds of shit, I'm like, well, probably there's some sort of weird fungus down there in the catacombs there that, you know, got in your lungs or something. Must be the curse. But yeah, I'm always open to supernatural explanations. I mean,
yeah.
Only a totally irrational person wouldn't acknowledge some level of irrational cause and effect, you know?
Mm-hmm. I saw on your website you mentioned your first movie there had a lot of punk rock in it. The Psychic Violence, were you in that punk band, or is it just one you talk about? Oh, very cool.
Yes, I was the singer and wrote most of the songs and did most of the artwork that one associated with that band. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a neo-psychedelic. I mean, because this was like the 80s, so it's like, you know, real psychedelia was in the past, but I still had this interest in doing a kind of psychedelia, kind of punk psychedelia. Mm-hmm. So what's kind of neat about some of the flyers, even if you couldn't see who the band was, if you saw the flyer from down the street, you knew it was one of my flyers. Mm-hmm. For the band, because something about the wiggly artwork, you go, oh, the band must be playing. Plus, I tried to print it on, like, you know, electric orange or neon pink and those kind of stuff. So back when you could still put flyers on telephone poles.
Oh, you can't do that anymore.
Can't do that anymore, can you? Or
I don't know. I think it probably depends where you are.
Yeah.
When we were in Seattle, there I saw a lot of them, and in Boston.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, I always thought Seattle was a place where around the time of Nirvana they stopped. You cannot. It will be illegal to do so. I guess it's a little about the enforcement. But yeah, I love that whole kind of culture too, the flyer culture. I don't really know how alive it is now because I don't get out much, but it definitely was a vital part of just getting stuff seen.
Yeah.
Come on out.
Yeah. This is really cool. And
you couldn't watch it online.
That's very true. Do you have any tracks of the psychic violence, or is it just I know you said some like live videos.
I have ass loads of psychic violence. I put out like I mean, the thing is, psychic violence never recorded a real studio thing. They did what's called a studio release, which is like a 4-track Tascam kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, it is. But we put out first we put out a live. It was just this weird thing that, gosh, we were just really popular in like no time at all. So we put out like a 30-minute cassette first, and it was all just made of boombox recordings of our gigs. And that, for the tiny town of Gainesville, Florida, or whatever, it was like, we sold 500 copies, whatever, like kind of insane amounts for that scale of whatever community.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I have like a 3-disc. I mean, I did it as a limited edition with all the shit. So actually, the package is no longer extant, but I have like 3 discs of like live stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mostly live stuff. But
yeah. I don't want to put you in the spot.
So the answer to your question is yes. The answer to your question is yes. I would happily send you all that stuff if you have any interest. Some of it should be online on my website, but I think some of those links, I need to update my website. I don't know if they're playable anymore. I think there's the soundtrack to Twisted Issues is on there, and it has one psychic violence song. And
yeah, because we play a lot of independent music all independent music on the show, but it's between all the interviews and everything, we like to play it. So if you had something, we could play it after the interview or something. It'd be pretty cool.
There's a pretty good, and it is, I call it a studio recording because we're reusing the 4-track on, what's this thing called? With the SoundCloud? Is it SoundCloud?
Oh, yeah.
Bandcamp.
Okay.
Bandcamp. Yep. That I think, as far as I know, I never put a price on it. And that actually has a pretty good representation, very clean sounding versions of a bunch of our songs. So perhaps I can send you a link. Do I have your email?
I'll send it to you after the show. Or it's real easy to remember.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. Very cool.
I'm out in my backyard, so I'm not.
Nah, that's fine.
Yakking in my roommate's here.
Yeah, you can tell it to the dog.
So then, what else about me? What else do you need to know? He doesn't do the dishes. Oh.
So, American Mummy is out now, I believe, on Blu-ray and DVD.
Yes.
And
yes.
What are some of the special and 3D? Very cool.
Yes.
What are some of the specials on the Blu-ray or DVD or the 3D?
They have some behind-the-scenes stuff. They have some a couple of trailers, and then some, I think, amusing behind-the-scenes stuff. One of which is, the classic. The actor can't get through the line without cracking up. Seeing there's 2 actors, and that's pretty hilarious. I do think it's pretty hilarious. There's a nighttime shoot where you really get a sense of shit. That's right in the middle of nowhere, and they're all cold. And then before the shots, okay, take off your hoodie, because it's the desert. Desert weather at night can just be incredibly cold. But there's no commentary, alas. That was something we didn't seem to have time to pull off. I would like to have done that. And there's one piece that's about what we shot it on, which is called a pole cam, which a form of jib. That is the guy who was our camera operator. He designed the thing, some British guy, and you can see the 2 cameras together, and sure enough, it's real 3D. It's not like done later in post, which I think makes a huge difference as far as a 3D experience.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful to put it out in 3D because at the moment, all the manufacturers are not making 3D TVs. So it's sort of like, well, fuck you. But at the same time, people who like 3D, I know want to, I have a 3D TV. I'm a voracious accumulator of 3D movies because not enough are made that way. And if you like 3D, well, I think our movie's a pretty good foray into the 3D world.
Definitely. No, well, before I let you go, I do have to ask, since you just said that you were big, you love the 3D. If you had to pick like one or two favorite 3D movies, what would they be?
Contemporary 3D movies, there's one called Drive Angry with Nicholas Rogue. Nicholas Rogue, is that right? Mm-hmm. No, Nicholas Rogue's the director. Nicolas Cage.
Oh, okay.
And it's just such a fun movie that totally uses the 3D, doesn't overuse it. But it's just a fun movie in the sense that 3D or not, it's just the story's so basic. It's basically Nicolas Cage plays some bad guy who's in hell. He's dead. He's in hell. And he finds out that his granddaughter has been kidnapped by this quasi-Christian cult and wants to sacrifice her. So he comes back. He steals some demon's sports car and comes back to this plane to fucking event to find his granddaughter and save his granddaughter. It's like you couldn't have a more basic plot, and it's called Drive Angry. Like it's not even like trying to be subtle about anything, and it's just this forward motion battering ram of a movie that's so fun, and the 3D is so fun. And at one point he's like drinking wine out of the skull of his vanquished opponent, and he's drinking the wine, and then he goes, and he gestures toward you, the audience, and some of the wine slips out of the sockets of the eyeballs of the eye sockets of the skull. So it's like it's just so much fun. I mean, that's it. If you're gonna do 3D, have some fun with it.
Definitely.
So definitely, Drive Angry is. I think that's kind of like my top one. There's a really great old classic one called The Bubble. It's like from '62 or something. Mm-hmm. That's also a very odd Twilight Zone kind of movie. That's really cool. Avatar, I hate to say, great 3D. I mean, you can't get away from it. It's great 3D. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, I've watched a lot of movies I think maybe aren't so strong, but because they're in 3D, I give them a little space because I just
there's something about it. Yeah.
But the Resident Evil movies that are shot in actual 3D, those are pretty good too. I mean, as far as the 3D goes, and certainly The Woman is Easy on the Eye, the star of that, and so those two or three Resident Evil movies, the 3D is impeccable. I mean, it really is like perfect 3D, and it's really pretty girl in front. But video game kind of plot, and that's the stuff you kind of got to sacrifice. Right. I'm sure I'm forgetting like the really tremendous one that's also a fantastic movie, but so mostly the 3D, and The Hobbit in 3D. It's great. Like you're opening up a picture book. It's like the story and stuff. But it's super fun. I mean, just the sense of here we are in Hobbiton. Like you really feel it. You're surrounded by trees and
Yeah. Very cool. Well, it's been a lot of fun to talk to you.
Hey, man, fun talking to you. I appreciate taking the time.
Yeah, I'm definitely really not just because you're here, but I'm looking forward to watching your older movies, and I hope people check out American Mummy.
Groovy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope so too. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is Kevin Van Hentenryck, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com. And if you lift the lid of the basket, you die.